Hello YouTube. Today I wanted to get on here and just make a video about something that I feel is very important in what I do for my training. So as you guys know, I do what's called high intensity training. So anytime I post a video on like a reel or whatever and it says HIT in all caps, that means high intensity training. And I wanted to explain to you guys the difference of high intensity training and training to failure compared to high volume training, like Ronnie Coleman did and Arnold and some of those guys. So I wanted to get on here and tell you guys the difference between what Arnold did and Ronnie Coleman, and kind of why Mike Mentzer was right about high intensity and why I do it and why it works. And I also want to talk about carbohydrates a little bit and how that works, because carbohydrates are very important. Most people think that carbs are going to build fat and make you big, and which they will make you big in the sense of if you're working out and you drink a lot of water, you will get big using carbs as a growth source, because what the water does is the more carbs that you eat, the more water you drink, the more water will be pulled into your muscles and will make them fuller. But anyway, we're going to talk about high intensity and high volume and how they're different. Okay, so how they're different. So with high volume, and this is what bodybuilders don't tell you. You see their workouts and you see the progress they make and you're like, okay, I want to do that. I want to get like them. So the truth is, with high volume, when you're natural and you're training 6-7 times a week, even if you're taking like a day or two rest, like let's say you don't train on the weekends, your body only has 2 days to recover until you're working out again, and your muscles aren't getting sufficient time to grow. And the thing with high volume is it's literally that you're working out 6 to 7 times a week and you're not getting enough time to recover. Your body needs at least, I'd say probably 48 to even 90 hours plus of rest before you work out again. So that way your body has enough time to grow, because the growth comes from not the workout, but the time after the workout where you're recovering and where you're eating what you need to be eating. And so basically with Arnold and Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler, guys like that, what they don't tell you is the reason that they're growing and they're able to work out 6-7 times a week, sometimes 2 times a day for 2 hours. The reason they're able to do that is because they're taking steroids. Steroids play a huge part in your growth recovery. And so when they're on steroids and they're lifting 2 hours a day, they're lifting 6-7 times a week, those steroids will help tremendously with their growth, and they can grow and recover much faster than somebody who isn't taking steroids. So if you're somebody who's natural and you try to do what Arnold does or what somebody like Ronnie Coleman did, I guarantee you that after a certain amount of time, you will stop growing so fast and you're going to be stuck and you're not going to know what to do, because you're going to be doing the same things every workout, the same amount of volume, same amount of reps, and you're not going to grow. Your body's not going to have enough time to grow, and you're also doing too much volume, which means you're doing like 3+ sets and you're bouncing the weight around and not doing it under control. And even if you are doing it under control, you only need 1 set to turn on that growth mechanism. And if you're doing any more than 1 set, you're just wasting your time. So the thing with Arnold and Ronnie Coleman, they would go in and they would work out 2 hours a day, and they would sometimes even do it 2 times a day, and they would do it 6-7 times a week. And they could do that because the steroids play a huge part in their recovery ability. So they're going in and working out all these hours, and they're doing all this volume. They're doing 4 sets, like 12 reps for everything. They're hitting all these different kinds of movements for their muscles. They're doing like pull downs and rows and deadlifts, and they're doing the single arm pull downs and the pullovers. Like they're doing everything which isn't needed. If you're natural, you can't do that. You can't go into the gym and work out 2 hours a day and 6 days a week and do all this stuff, all this volume, and expect to grow. if you're somebody who you start out working out and you're doing what Arnold did, you will grow because your body's not going to be used to that kind of stress. So it's not going to have any option. It's going to have to grow. But eventually your body's going to get used to all this and it's not going to have enough time to recover, and you're going to hit a plateau and you're just going to stop growing completely. You'll maintain the muscle you've built as long as you're eating right, but you're going to be stuck looking the same for the longest time and you're not going to know what to do. The way high intensity works, which is what I do, and I think everybody should do it. Basically, you'll start out one day, you'll do, for example, like my first day, I'll do chest and back. So I'll literally do 2 chest exercises and 2 back exercises, right? Each of them is 1 set to complete failure, which turns on the growth mechanism, and that's where the growth happens, right? So when you're done with those literal 4 workouts that each was 1 set, and that workout will take you maybe 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. Once you're done with that workout, you take 4 days of rest, 4 full days. That's what your body needs, 4 full days. You take 4 full days of rest, you get the calories, carbs, protein, and the fat that you need in a day, the water, right? Then you come back 4 days later and you do your next workout, which for me would be legs. 4 days later, I would do arms and shoulders. So literally, the last time I hit chest was, let me see. So I hit legs 2 days ago. So I hit chest about 8 or so days ago. And before that, I hadn't hit chest in 2 weeks. And my chest grew tremendously and was so much stronger than it was the last time I did it, right? So basically, your body needs this time to recover, not only to build muscle, but to build strength, because you're not going to be strong when you're doing chest 2 times a week. Your chest hasn't fully recovered. You're not going to be as strong. You're not going to be growing as much muscle, right? So basically, with high intensity, you're taking all that time to rest and you're going to grow, right? You're getting the carbs, calories, protein, fat you need in those 4 days that you're taking a rest, and when the days that you're working out, right? So you're getting plenty of rest to turn on that growth mechanism, and your body is recovering and it's using all these resources that you're giving it to feed it, and it's growing. And that's what you need. People, I can't tell you how many people I know that are doing high volume and have looked the exact same for 3 years. Not to hate, but the school weight program, which is intended for athletes at my school, I kid you not, I think everybody in that weight room that works out at the school only has literally looked the same for the last 3 or 4 years and has been the same strength for 3 or 4 years. I went from going into high school as a freshman at 130 pounds to now being a senior at 200 pounds. I was doing the school weight program only for like 2 years. I put on 20 pounds. And most of that was just because I was hitting a growth spurt. So I did build strength, but that was mainly from my growth spurt, right? I quit weights. I started working out solely at the house. I had more resources to use because at the school weight program, we only did things that were at the squat rack, and they were stupid things that weren't going to build you hardly any muscle. You were going to build power. You were going to have mobility, which is why it was intended for athletes. But if you were somebody who wanted to build muscle and strength, that's not a good option for you, because I kid you not, these guys and girls even have looked the exact same for 3 or 4 years. I'm not going to say who, because they might watch this, but there's so many people that I know that do that school weight program and have literally been the same size. And the reason being is because that school weight program is like 3, 4, sometimes even 6 or 7 sets of like 12 reps. Your body cannot grow from that, especially when you're working out in that gym at the school literally 5 times a week, sometimes 4. Your body's not getting sufficient time to recover, and you're overworking the muscle with all the high volume, right? But with the high intensity, like I said, it's every 4 days. So you're working out every 4 days. Once every 4 days, your body has plenty of time to recover and grow. And the school weight program isn't like that. You go in there and you work out for 45 minutes of class. You do all this high volume stuff. You come back the next day, and sometimes you're hitting the same muscles the day after. Your body's not going to grow like that, because when it's trying to grow in the evening after that workout and you come back the next day and you do another workout that you're using the same muscles in, you're just overloading the muscle and it's not going to grow. The other thing is too, when you're doing high intensity, you want to do a thing called progressive overload, which is you do one weight 1 week or one workout. Then when you do it the next time, you want to increase the weight on every exercise you did previously, so that way you can increase your strength, because your strength will be increased if you're eating and drinking what you should be. So in that time of recovery, you come back and do the workout again, and you're gonna progressively overload each workout that you did by at least 5 pounds on each exercise, and you're gonna try to attempt to get the same amount of reps as you did the week before. And if you do, that's a good thing, because that's a strength improvement. You've increased the weight by 5 pounds compared to the last time, and you got the same amount of reps. And if you go past the reps that you had before with an increased weight, that's even more improvement. That means the week after that, you need to be adding more than 5 pounds, and your body is going to get stronger and it's going to grow, because you don't get bigger without getting stronger. If you're getting stronger, you're getting bigger. That's just the truth. So when you're doing high intensity training, you want a progressive overload on the exercises. The things that people do when they're doing high volume, they come in every day and they do the same weight as the week before or the time before, the same amount of reps. Your body is going to get used to doing the same weight and the same amount of reps. It's not going to have any reason to grow. Why would it have any reason to grow? If you can curl, let's say 95 pounds for 10 reps, and the only weight you ever do is 95 pounds, your muscle's not going to grow, because it's going to be used to that same weight and it won't grow. But if you come into the gym the time after you've been doing 95 pounds, let's say you do 105 pounds, 110 pounds, even if you get less reps, your body has a reason to grow, because you put stress on the muscle that it wasn't used to. That's what progressive overload does. You add more strength, you add more weight to a movement your body's not going to be used to, and it will grow and it will get stronger. The thing with high volume is they don't do that. They do the same weight and the same reps every time. And the body's just, hold on, my mom's calling me. Gotta click that. The thing with high volume, like I was saying, it's just they do the same stuff and their body has no reason to grow. Not only because they're doing the same weight and reps, but also they're overworking the muscles by working out so many days of the week. Their body's not recovering. A lot of people also think this is where the carbohydrates come into play. First off, protein is very important. It is the most important, because protein rebuilds and repairs your muscle tissue after it's been torn. Basically, your muscles, they break down during a workout because of the stress put on them. The protein you consume is what rebuilds and repairs the muscle. The thing with carbs is the word carbohydrate, the suffix hydrate in that word literally means water. The more carbohydrates that you're eating and the more water you drink, the more water is pulled into your muscles. The reason being is because your muscles are not mostly protein, but they're mostly water, right? You have more water in your muscles and in your body than you do in protein. So the more water you're drinking, the more carbs you're eating, the more water that will be pulled into your muscles, making them look fuller and bigger. It'll make you stronger because carbs give you energy. Carbs are literally one of the most important things. They almost are more important than protein. Protein's only important because it rebuilds and repairs the muscle. The carbs are what actually gives you more power in your workouts, more endurance, and it makes your muscles fuller. So most people that do high volume stuff and like athletes, for example, they think they need more protein than carbs, and they will cut out carbs almost completely. And that's terrible, because you're losing out on strength and you're losing out on size, but you're also not going to have as much energy either, because carbs literally give you energy and they literally help your brain work. Your brain runs off of carbohydrates and sugars. Sugars are carbs. Your brain needs that kind of stuff. Not the unhealthy sugars, like you don't want to eat candy and stuff and expect your brain to run well. You need to be eating like bananas, apples, oranges. Like that's the kind of sugar your brain needs, which is carbs. You need carbs, especially as somebody who works out. I can't tell you how many times, and this annoys the crap out of me. Like, for example, today I was talking to my teacher and she asked how many carbs I need in a day. And I told her, and she was surprised that I took so many carbs, because she was like, well, when you work out, you really don't need a lot of carbs. And I was like, you're telling me that I don't need carbs? What do you know? You need carbs when you're working out. Carbs literally give you energy. They help you push through a workout. They help your muscles get bigger and stronger and fuller. Like that, carbs are good for you, not the terrible carbs. You know, you got terrible carbs out there, but you want to be eating stuff like rice, potatoes, like pasta. That kind of carbs is good for you. That's what I eat, and that's what makes my muscles fuller. Now, if you're eating a lot of carbs and you're not drinking enough water, then you're just eating those carbs for no reason, because you literally need the water to be pulled into your muscles through the carbs. The carbs soak up the water and restores water into your muscles, which makes them bigger. And it gives you more energy. So even if you're not drinking a lot of water, you will have energy from the carbs, but you're not gonna get as much progress from the carbs if you're not drinking enough water. But back to the school weight program, and I talked to so many people about the school weight program. I strongly dislike the school weight program. I think it is so dumb. I literally hate hearing about people in the school weights program because it's just embarrassing that they've been the same size and strength for 3 years. If I was in the school weight program right now and I listened to everything that they said, I would not be the size or the strength that I am right now. Now, there is people that I know that they honestly do fairly well with high volume stuff. There's this kid I know, he's a sophomore. He's extremely huge. He's my size and he's 2 or 3 years younger than me. He does high volume stuff and it works for him. And he's a big dude. I did not look like that as a sophomore, so he's doing extremely well on that. He's one of the only people I know that works out at the school that actually has made progress from it. He also does work out outside of the school, which could be a very big reason on why he's growing. But obviously he's overworking his muscles. He would do way better if he was doing one set per exercise and taking more days for rest. He would be even bigger than he is now, which is crazy to say because he's a massive dude. But back to the school weight program, I remember when I was either a freshman or a sophomore, they had stuff written on the whiteboard and it said carbs, protein, and fat. And the protein count was higher than the carb count, which at the time when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, like you need more protein. Because at the time, that's what I thought. I was doing all that high volume stuff at the school. And even after I stopped, I remember I was trying to work out like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was like, well, the school weights teacher doesn't know what he's doing, but Arnold does. But little did I know, Arnold, first off, I knew he was on steroids, but like I didn't know that I couldn't do the same things as him and grow. I didn't know that. So no wonder when I quit the school weights program, I only grew a little bit and stopped growing almost instantly. Then I found out about Mike Mentzer and Dorian Yates. I started watching their stuff, studying their stuff. I applied it to my workouts, completely changed everything, and I started growing and seeing progress. And I really recommend that if you're working out and you're not seeing progress or you don't think you're growing as fast as you should, go watch Mike Mentzer, watch my stuff, and you're going to learn how to grow muscle. You see me train in my videos, I go to absolute failure for one set, and I kid you not, for 4 days, my muscles are in extreme pain, and that's how it should be. When I was doing that high volume stuff, I would be a little sore the day after, and then it was whatever, it was already done. It shouldn't be like that. You should be in pain for a few days after a workout. That just shows you that you did it right. Now, there's some days where you're not going to be sore, and you either, one, didn't push hard enough, you didn't progressive overload, or sometimes your body just isn't sore, which doesn't mean that you're not going to grow necessarily, but you just should use that and be like, okay, I need to train harder next time. But back to kind of the school weight program thing. When I was working out at the school, they had us do most workouts were 3 to 4 sets per exercise, usually 12 reps. That was usually the rep range. And it was the dumbest stuff. I get that it was for athletes and stuff, it builds power and everything. But there was times I would go into the school weight program and I would work out and I would be doing incline bench. I would be doing bent over rows and then squats and all this random stuff with kettlebells. Like, that stuff is not going to make you big. It's going to make you athletic, which I guess, that's what it's for. It's for athleticism. But so many people think that they're going to get big and strong doing that stuff. That's not how that works. If you want to get big and strong, you need to be doing workouts like I'm doing. That's what's going to get you big and put size and strength on you. And people don't understand that. So I remember when I quit the school weights program and I was all into Arnold. I was like, oh yeah, bodybuilding. Like, Arnold's best. Like he knows exactly what he's doing. So I was doing all this high volume stuff. I was throwing weight around. I wasn't using slow and controlled movements. And I grew a little bit for I'd say the first year I grew a little bit. I made a huge difference in how I looked before. But, I just kept doing the same weight every week, the same reps every week. And I hit a plateau. I stopped growing. And I was so confused why I stopped growing. And then randomly, I saw reels about Mike Mentzer all the time. And I was like, this guy's an idiot. One set, that's not going to work. One set to failure, what is that? And I kept seeing stuff about it all the time and hearing about how he had changed people and what differences he made and how it works. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'll give it a shot. So I tried it, and I didn't do it right at first. I wasn't going to full failure. I was still doing too many lifts for a body part, and I did grow a tiny bit at first, which I noticed, but then I stopped growing, and it was because I wasn't hitting complete failure, and I also wasn't getting enough recovery time in. I was going to failure for one set, not even going to failure actually. I was trying to go to failure and didn't for one set, and I was also doing too many exercises for a body part. And I didn't really understand the part about getting enough rest. I would take like a day off sometimes. Sometimes I wouldn't even do that. I was still doing multiple days of working out, but I was doing it a different way. So I grew at first a little bit, but not how I should have. Then when I actually figured it out, I studied this dude so hard. I wrote down everything I needed to do, how the calories and stuff worked, how the workouts worked. I studied his videos on how the eccentric movements were, the negative, the positive, the different machines he used, the way he used them. I studied all of it. I applied it to my workouts. The first few times, I'd say for the first month, there were some things I didn't do right. I was messing some things up, and but it felt, it was working. It was great, but eventually I got the hang of it, and now I do it exactly how he had taught it in videos that I'd seen. There's this guy named Marcus that he trained in the 90s, and those were the videos I watched to learn what Mike was teaching. And Marcus put on insane size and strength in a short amount of time from what Mike was teaching him. But anyway, I would watch those videos, and I would watch exactly how Marcus trained and how Mike had him train. And I wrote everything down that I needed to, exactly what he had him doing. I applied it to my workouts, and I started doing it. And I have been seeing insane growth doing this and taking all these rest days that I need to, because your body needs recovery time. Started taking 4 days of rest in between workouts, did the exact workouts that Mike had you do, or had him do. And I started seeing growth. I have not stopped growing. I've been putting on insane size, insane strength. All my lifts are going up, and it's been great. I also, with Arnold, he would talk about no carbs. I started putting in carbs because Mike said that you need carbs, and he explained and gave all these valid reasons on why you need it. So I put in more carbs. I've been taking in more carbs than protein, and my muscles have been getting fuller and bigger. Like when I started doing high intensity training, when I first started, I had 14.5-inch arms. I have 16.5-inch arms now in a year, which is insane. So I've grown extremely, and it's awesome. I can't wait to just keep growing and keep getting bigger. But I can't tell you the amount of people that I tell about high intensity training, and they think it's stupid and that it's not going to work. They make fun of Mike Metzer because he did meth. If Arnold did meth, and if the weights teacher did meth, would they be wrong? Well, first off, yes, they were wrong. But if they were right, would they be wrong just because they did that? Just because Mike did meth doesn't mean he's wrong. He's proved that he's right by training other people and even himself. It worked for him, it worked for other people, and it's worked for me. And there's so many people out there that are still doing high volume stuff and working out too many times a week, and they're not growing. This is the answer to growing. This is the answer to getting strong. You need to train to failure. You need to get sufficient recovery time, and you will grow. That's just the truth. But back to what I was saying about the carbs. Arnold said that you don't need carbs, or you need low carbs. He had a high protein diet, low fat, low carb. And obviously, he did well with that because he was, one, on steroids, and he had crazy genetics, so he grew from that. With the carbs, Mike said that you need carbs because of the reason I just told you. It pulls water into your muscles and makes you bigger. And that's how it works. That's what carbs do. Carbs are going to put size on you. If you're somebody that doesn't work out and you eat carbs, you're going to get fat. That's just the truth. But when you're using them efficiently for energy and for muscle size increases and strength increases, it's going to work for you. But if you're, like what I said, if you're somebody who doesn't work out and you eat a lot of carbs, like if you eat a lot of potatoes and pasta, your body's not going to be using those resources efficiently, and you're just going to get fat. But if you're working out and you're eating carbs, you're going to put on size and strength. And when I was working out the way Arnold did, I didn't eat hardly any carbs. I was always protein. I was eating all this protein, and I would say I was fairly lean at that time. It does put a little bit more fat on you eating carbs, but I wasn't getting big with just eating protein. When I incorporated the carbs, that's when I started seeing the real size and strength increases. But what I was gonna say about what I eat in a day. So I weigh 200 pounds, so I need at least 200 grams of protein a day. You need a gram of protein per pound of body weight. I like to get probably 215 grams of protein, because sometimes when you calculate things, they don't always measure to the exact number. So you want to go a little higher to make sure you're getting efficiently what you need. And for carbs, I need 510 grams a day. Sometimes I don't get to that number, which is fine, because 200 to 300 grams of carbs is a lot of carbs. So sometimes I don't even get close to 500, but I try to. For fat, I need 58 grams a day. I usually go well over that. It's really hard nowadays to not get fatty foods. Everything has fat in it. And I usually will get probably 150 grams of fat a day, which isn't great, but my body is burning it off from working out and stuff. Water, I need 7 16.9 fluid ounce bottles of water every day. And that's a lot of water. It's a gallon of water. Your body, just when you're doing this kind of training, it needs that water to work efficiently in your muscles, and it keeps you hydrated, which is going to keep you more awake and more energized. But yeah, this is basically the video. I kind of just wanted to get on here and explain what it is, because in my videos I talk a little bit about it during the workouts, but I needed to just sit down and fully explain how high intensity works and why it's better than high volume and why I think you should do it. But you just see videos of people doing high volume, and yeah, they're training hard, but they're not going to failure, and they're doing all these sets, and they're working out so many times in a week. The only reason they're going to grow is because they're taking steroids, and that's what they don't tell you. But this is a pretty long video, but I hope you guys actually watch this and get all this information and you apply it to your life if you're working out, because I promise you, you will see way more progress doing this. But this is the end of the video. I will be back on Thursday for an arm and shoulder day. And yeah, peace out, guys.